Welcome to your new home in McAllen, Texas.
This place used to be totally different. We took 29 motel rooms that were dated. Remember, these were built in the 50s, and we turned them around. We gutted these down to the studs. We replaced the electrical. We replaced the plumbing. We even added gas lines. And now we have a beautiful 29-unit multifamily asset. So bear with me, there's a lot that we're packaging into this one offer for the resident. In this motel to apartment conversion, we have sewer, water, trash, electric, internet, washer, dryer, dishwasher, microwave, oven, stove, all included for just one monthly fee.
Y no se preocupe, nosotros hablamos español. Go ahead and go to studiosonfourth.com, check out the floor plans that we have available, and submit your information. And just a friendly reminder, we have everything included: sewer, water, trash, electric, utilities, even fiber high-speed internet. Submit your info and we'll get back to you. Welcome home. Welcome to the Motel to Apartment Conversions podcast. I am one of your co-founders along with Jacob Amesqua, and our third partner is Richard Wilson of familyoffices.com, or is it familyoffice.com? It's familyoffices.com. And we are joined today by the one, the only Keshav Pandiri. Did I say your name right?
It's Keshav. It's like the letter A and then Shav. It's pretty close.
I went all epic there, and I
yeah.
flopped on the name. Sorry, man. I should have checked that.
We've only known you for like 2 years. Okay.
Yeah. I feel like you normally say my name right as well, which is even funny.
Oh man. Well, we if you're joining us here today from LinkedIn, YouTube, the podcast, or Facebook and any other social media platform, please feel free to chime in, post a comment. Let us know where you're chiming in from, what industry you're in. If you're in the hotel industry, let us know if you're a hotelier. Let us know what you're working on. We want to connect with you. And everyone that we bring on to this webinar will be someone you can contact. And today we have someone who has decades experience. And I don't mean that just by him, because he's a young guy, but him, his family, his colleagues, and everyone he's ever worked with is just an ultra mastermind of the conversion space, adaptive reuse, construction, hospitality. Keshav is a wealth of knowledge, and you will surely add another $1 million to your bottom dollar showing up today. So Keshav, thanks for coming. Thanks for having us. Thanks for coming onto our show.
Man, thanks for hosting me, man. I feel like that's probably the most epic introduction I've ever received in my life.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
We don't take it lightly, man. You are honestly just crushing it, and I love all the verticals that you're in. This is a more laid back webinar. We were gonna go rigid again, like we always do, and have this super blown up, regimented slide deck, and kind of go through some of the things that he knows in the shipping, receiving, inventory, supply chain, so on and so forth, sourcing. But he knows too much, and it's way too many topics that he can shed light on. And I wanted to give him the mic and really just share some of the, some of the secrets of the trade, or ways that our fellow operators can really crush their sourcing or motel conversion, construction, acquisition business. So there's a lot of topics here, but I think Jacob asked some great questions in the chat, and we'd love to, have Jacob just kind of cover some of those and have you answer them.
Absolutely. So Keshav, welcome. Thank you for coming. So for those for the people that don't know you, do you just want to give a brief introduction and background of yourself and your business ventures?
Yeah. So I would say I, for most of my career, been kind of a commercial real estate guy. Started out of college, went to Georgia Tech, studied finance, started out of college at a company called Brookfield Asset Management, which is a large real estate private equity firm. I was in their industrial platform based in Atlanta. I was on their portfolio management team, looking at a lot of acquisitions and development all across the US. Did that for a year and a half. And then I moved to a larger multi-developer based in the Southeast called Madison Capital Group. I worked for a subsidiary called Cameron Property Company. And along with a colleague, I ran a hotel conversion platform. So the goal was, to buy these older hotels that were run down, performing poorly, kind of a drag on that area. And then, put in a lot of money, completely rehab it and turn it into apartments, pretty similar to how you guys do it, but I guess the strategy was slightly different. I did that for about a year and a half. And while I was there, we were importing a lot of stuff from, vendor relationships we had with people overseas. And I thought, hey, we're saving a lot of money here. I know a lot of my friends in the space could also use something like this. So ended up partnering with some really, really experienced people in the supply chain and construction space and started Build Supply. Kind of what we do is direct material imports for apartment projects and some hospitality projects as well. So we own a factory in Vietnam for cabinetry, another one for countertops. Let's say you have an apartment project here. Normally we'll manufacture according to the specs that you want at our factory and then ship it directly over. We work with kind of a lot of different categories, but mainly I would say it's interior finish dedicated. So it's like cabinets, countertops, flooring, doors, stuff like that. And so most of our clients are kind of apartment owners, developers, property managers, general contractors, everyone in the apartment space. I would say kind of my areas of expertise are going to be hotel conversions, apartment development, and then also now supply chain and construction.
Awesome. Yeah, great background. And we have worked with Keshav on a project that we have in Brownsville. He has helped source materials for us previously, earlier this year. And again, we're working with him. So it's awesome, man, that you're able to start your own company. And so is that what you're doing now full time, is Build Supply, you're sourcing? Or do you have other?
Yeah, that's my full-time occupation. I also work with a lot of hotel converters, helping them kind of on a consulting basis with different parts of their value chain. A lot of it's on the sourcing side and the materials and construction side. Some is on finding new opportunities. Some it's on like municipal approvals. Others it's like debt and equity. I'd say kind of my background is pretty broad. So I kind of plug in, and my team also plugs in wherever needed on that side. But yeah,
Awesome.
That's the main focus.
Yeah, awesome. So you said in your past experience, you did hotel conversions, but they were a slightly different strategy than maybe we do them. What was the scope of the conversions that you were doing back then?
So I'd say like physically, the strategy was very similar, right? Would take down, really old, dinky motels, and put in a ton of money, maybe a little too much money sometimes, and then make them really nice.
Yeah.
And I think that what you guys are doing is like kind of on the operations looks a little different, right? So we were leasing it as a traditional apartment building, right? So, we would develop it, we would, stabilize it, and we would lease it up to 90% occupancy, right? On 12-month, 6-month minimum leases, 12-month leases, mainly unfurnished, right? So it's like 100 studio apartments delivering to one market that are all for, traditional rents. I know what you guys do, it's kind of more flexible, right? It's like you guys like to say, stay long, stay here, or stay short, stay long, stay here. Is that right?
Yeah.
Pretty close. Stay long, stay short, stay here.
Oh man. I like that. I like that motto.
Can we trademark that, Jacob? We better trademark that quick. If anybody's listening, don't do it.
Trademarked, we call it. Yeah.
That's your motto.
We call it.
If stay long, stay short, stay here, it ends up getting trademarked by somebody else. We'll go stay short, stay long, stay here.
If that gets trademarked, you say stay here, stay short, stay long.
Stay short.
Just stay.
Just stay here.
Stay. Yeah.
Actually, I think I looked at that domain. Sorry, this is a tangent. I looked at that web domain. Just stay here, and it was taken. It was taken like back in '99 or something. I'm like,
Yeah,
dang,
I have to imagine. That's a pretty nice domain. So
that's sweet.
Yeah.
Just stay here. That's cool.
Yeah. So, and you're also actively looking for opportunities, right? Deals for conversions. Is that still something that is popping up on your tape? Do you have deals coming across your desk every now and then?
yeah. I mean, I would say so. I work with a couple different groups, mainly on the hotel conversion side, helping them find new opportunities. And I know we've talked a lot about this in the past too. I think every group has a different flavor for what they're looking for and how they execute on stuff. And I think, some people really like, for example, extended stay properties that are current extended stays, that don't have a lot of, renovation to be done, maybe only need $5,000 or $10,000 a unit in cost, but then they're willing to pay more for it. Right. Other people prefer exterior corridor concrete block hotels in specific markets that they know would work really well for their strategy. And others want 400 unit suburban full service hotels because they know that works well for their strategy. And I think I probably get 3 to 4 solid opportunities every month that kind of get distributed based off of people's criteria. Some don't fit anyone's criteria, even though they're great opportunities. And then some are perfect matches. It's a match made in heaven. And I think, it's just about just because something is a good deal doesn't mean it's the right deal for everyone. And I think it's about being picky for what's the best thing for you guys. And I think you guys are very good at that too. From what I've seen, it's you turn down a lot of opportunities that even if they're good, don't necessarily make sense for you.
That's a tough subject, man. That is a tough subject. That's something that sometimes puts us crying to sleep at night. But I think we're blessed tremendously by not taking on so many projects that probably wouldn't have, to be totally transparent, fit what we were trying to accomplish. But you make a lot of money when you walk away from nightmares. So
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What struggles are you seeing, Keshav, from operators right now who are doing these conversions?
I think some of the biggest ones are around construction.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think nice video. I like it. But I think a lot of what people do in this space that becomes really challenging is they underestimate kind of the scope needed, right? And I'd say when you look at doing a conversion of an hotel to an apartment, there's 3 buckets you can look at in terms of how you spend money, right? So the number one is deferred maintenance. And so that's stuff like, hey, the roof has gone bad. There's asbestos, there's a bunch of leaks, there's the HVAC systems need to be replaced, stuff like that. The second I would say is kind of the code requirements, right? So sometimes certain municipalities have requirements to bring certain things up to code, right? And so a lot of it's going to be hey, you need to put in new sprinkler systems, right? You need to upgrade the electrical infrastructure because it doesn't support for the current use, even though you're using the exact same appliances as you were before, right? Stuff like that. And then you'll have a lot of times you'll have interior finishes. And so it's going to be your new cabinets, countertops, flooring, that type of stuff. And I think the 2 things I didn't include in there is MEP, right? So mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. And that kind of gets a lot of times spread out between the deferred maintenance and the code requirements. But in certain scenarios, it's not carried by both. And sometimes you'll need to run new electrical lines because they didn't have any to begin with, or new plumbing lines, so on and so forth. And then the next one is that sometimes you'll have common areas. And so and there's pros and cons to it, right? The pro is that you have more amenity space. You can potentially charge more for rent. It's a better amenity. You have higher occupancy. The con is that you suddenly have sometimes a lot of issues with costs around, redoing a pool is not cheap, right? Doing a new lobby, doing new common areas is not cheap. And so again, this very much pros and cons in that scenario.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you're exactly right. It sounds so simple. It sounded so simple when we went into it. Just hire a construction crew and make it look like an apartment, right? But man, we can definitely agree to what you're saying, Keshav. We've run into a lot of the same issues that you're talking about.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think you guys have seemed to do a pretty good job managing it with like your construction managers, and hiring competent GCs. So,
Well,
but
we've done
it's a
okay.
challenge for
We've
everyone.
made mistakes along the way. There's a lot of, sorry to cut you off, but there's a lot of things that we would probably do differently. But I
Mhm.
think, Keshav, something that you said to me a while ago on a phone call is, there's a company called Renew, by the way. We were we were talking with them, and I think you introduced us to them. But you said, make sure that the company that you're working with has done these before, or they're actively doing them. And I thought that was really poignant because I've been down the road where, hey, this guy's a residential GC, he can jump in and get it done. Not totally the case. There's a lot of red tape along the way, and which is why it might be a great opportunity still, right? Motel to apartment conversions is still awesome because it's a high barrier of entry, right? Nobody's going to jump in and say, hey, I want to do this ridiculously complex adaptive reuse project, and I have no idea what commercial GC is willing to take that on. But I guess long story short, the more difficult the project, the better chances that you'll be one of the only ones who are willing to take it on.
Yeah, I think a lot of people underestimate the difficulty on these things. Like the first project I worked on, our budget was $4 million for 130 units, 30,000 a door. We ended up spending almost 50% more than what we initially budgeted,
Yeah.
which was a pretty massive
It's like
difference.
43K a door about?
No, we spent almost like 45, 46 a door, which I think this one just had a lot of issues. And it was also very much our first project, and we overspent on certain things that we definitely shouldn't have. It kind of ended up turning out pretty good regardless, because the market worked out and the economics on the deal worked out. But at the same time, it did not look as good as what we originally thought it would.
I got a question for you. What, in your experience, has been the most important expenses that an operator would make to turn up that return on investment, to the return on capital? What expenses are like no-brainers? They're low margin expenses that we should be making, we should be improving to bring in that ROI.
When you say expenses, do you mean from like an operational standpoint once you're running it?
Man, let's break this up. Let's do construction. Or let's do construction and feature/amenity, and then let's do operationally.
I think so. The details matter a lot, right? And I think that a lot of times, and I'll give you examples, right? And I think it also depends on your model a lot. Like you guys have more extended stay model, and I think a lot of times what happens is like you have a beautiful box and it's just run really poorly, right?
Mm-hmm.
But or you miss certain key details, right? Like for example, maybe you didn't insulate the room properly. And the temperature doesn't stay right, or you get a lot of like pests that get in, right? Maybe you didn't fumigate it properly during construction, right? And like when you start running it, like you run into a lot of different issues. Maybe and I think your model is very different from the traditional model that we're looking at for running for traditional apartments. But I think a lot of what I've seen miss is like on the small details. Like everyone is really ambitious with the big stuff, right? And overall the projects look really nice. But like when you're living there, like the details matter a lot, right? And I think a lot of that comes down to the operation, but a lot of that comes down to like the investment choices you make when you're running it. Like let's say you choose poor quality products to put in, right? Suddenly like those products are going to get messed up because they are not designed. Like a common one is faucets, right? People will cheap out on faucets all the time because they're like, hey, this is a really easy way to like save money, right? And let's, oh, we have a better, we have the same, something that looks exactly the same, but it's not, right? And it's made with poor internals. People will put that in, and then they'll have regular maintenance calls like once, like, you know, on a 100-unit apartment complex, you might have something probably 20 times a year. Which, I mean, okay, yeah, it's not a, you know, like if you have your own in-house maintenance person, it's not bad, but like that might cause leaks, that might cause issues. Like I had one recently in my personal portfolio, like, and you know, like that's a rental, but like to get an emergency person out there, it cost me like $300 to fix, right? Like, you know, if you put in the proper faucet at the beginning, it's like $10 more. That's just an example, but I think that like using higher quality products, making sure that the details are paid attention to, and like based off of the stuff that I've seen you guys do, honestly, I think you guys do a good job of paying attention to those stuff. You guys really care.
I love that. Jacob, I didn't know if you had anything to share, but I often harp on details. The experience for someone living there, okay, we're going to say living, not staying, living there,
Yeah.
really do matter. And what you can get away with in a hotel, you can't get away with in an extended stay. I don't know if you've noticed, but you know, if you go to a hotel, you'll see shortcuts being made just to really just look pretty and be around for that guest for 2 nights, right? It's just really just a facade kind of. I shouldn't say that, but the durability is not there, nor is it really needed. And
Yeah.
simply, you know, they're going to be there for a couple nights. An extended stay, you got rubber bottom, or the rubber, what is it called? I don't even know what it's called. Baseboards. You got rubber baseboards. You got
Yeah.
super durable products. You got stone and extremely hard, like Kydex plastic. I mean, there's different materials that are being used because they know that these are, maybe even if they're corporate employees or corporate clients, they're going to be there for 2-3 weeks, maybe a month. Anyways, yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying.
I mean, yeah, I think in the operations you see that a lot too. Like, let's say you walk into a hotel, the first thing you notice is the smell, right? And there's so many nice hotels you go to that just don't smell good, and it ruins the whole experience. Like, you think that place,
yeah.
like, I wouldn't come back here. And it, like, you're not associating with, hey, it smells bad, I won't come back here, but it's something about it you can't place your like finger on, right? And like that's like it is like, you know, it's a constant maintenance thing. Like, you got to spend time and money and energy, but it's like, it's not the amount of investment you're making for the amount of return you get out of it is incredibly high.
That's actually something we think we're missing in the whole space. And sorry, I'm hogging the mic here, but
Yeah,
I mean, that's well, you're getting my brain juices flowing. That's something we think we're missing, and that's why we're launching the Park Rise brand, which we'll talk about a different day. But we don't feel that someone has nailed the experience for guests. The smell, you know, the sounds, the service, the annoyances that happen at every single select service or any regular hotel, motel, or apartment complex. Really, I mean, it's all kind of annoying when you look at all the issues that are not fixed. We're in 2024. We should be fixing these. So, yeah, that's actually what we're banking on, is creating a better service that isn't existent right now.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think it's one of those things that like a lot of people mess on those things, especially when it comes to like, you know, room rates that are like less than $70 a night, right? If you're, you know, below mid-scale, or if you're mid-scale or below, a lot of times that stuff gets missed. And like on the economy segment, it a lot of times just completely gets ignored, which I think there's still a lot of money in the economy segment, right? Like,
I think it doesn't matter. And I think it's overkill in the economy segment. I mean, I wouldn't even focus on that in the economy segment. I would just be available and not not expense all that cash. That's
for sure. Okay, fair. That's also true. There's something to be said about that. But I think it's also one of those things that, like, I was at a hotel the other day. It was like an extended stay being built by a group. And like it was like a normal exterior corridor motel. The only thing that was different about that is that it was cleaner and it smelled nice. And I was like, I would stay here.
Yeah.
Like, I would way rather spend another additional $20 a day to stay here versus somewhere else.
Yeah. And how much does an oil diffuser cost, right? Essential oil to spray lavender oil scents into the room.
Yeah, I mean, I think we spent a lot of time talking about scent, but it's just like one of those things that like the details matter.
I think it matters, man. Like, it matters.
Matters.
Every Marriott I enter smells good. You know, every Hyatt Regency smells good. You know, they smell good.
Yeah,
Sorry.
they do. They do. They really do.
So an idea that we want to start implementing in future projects, is before, especially for long-term tenants, people that are staying there 1 month plus, getting some of their information. And Andrew, this is, you're kind of the brain behind this, but asking them questions about, what's your favorite music artist? What's your favorite drink? What's your favorite color? And then as they get there, as they arrive, having their favorite music playing in the room as they enter. If they're a Swiftie, like Keshav. Keshav's a huge Swiftie.
Big Swiftie. He's all about that T Swift.
I really am. I'm surprised you guys know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No. I'm not, but I'm gonna get some hate for that. So I'm right now.
Imagine if you were. You walk into a room, you have Taylor Swift. We're never ever getting back together playing. You have your favorite lavender scent going, and then you have a gift basket for you if you're staying there a month or longer. You can make that a really not a huge expense, but if your operations are down, that's kind of the direction that we want to go. Is providing more than a place to live, but an experience that's going to get people there, staying for a long time, and get have it be completely filled and stand out from everything else. We think that's important.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think
you're cutting out.
One thing that I think is really interesting is that you guys really, from what I understand, like some conversation we had in the past, you guys really use a lot of technology to make your processes really efficient. I actually feel like that's a gap that's really missing in the hotel space. I think I would love to learn more about what you guys are doing there.
Yeah, we are. Just I guess a quick answer to that. It's funny you mentioned that because we have a friend who we've bounced ideas off of, and he is going down the rabbit hole. I'm going to say rabbit hole because I really think it's unlimited and it's just deep and it's a major margin of error. There is a major margin of error, and there's also just a lot of time lost that you'll never get back. But it's property technology, and he's got a system, a PMS built for hybrid stays. Like it's built for hybrid stays. He built it, and that's going to require a dedicated team. That's going to require debugging. That's going to require future development. That's going to require maintenance. That's going to require a lot. But it's just another added bonus to his model. We think that technology, this is my opinion. And Keshav, I actually want to ask you this question. This is a big question that I have that I want an answer to. Do you believe that tech and AI and where we're headed with these, new low to no code software solutions, kiosks, smartphone integration, do you believe that we're almost at an accelerated rate to where having a dev team is not totally necessary, and you can go third party and build an experience for a guest as they submit the data about themselves, as you prepare for their stay or prepare for their living situations or living circumstances? Would you really need to, go proprietary, or could you build existing tech that already works and exists to provide that experience?
I think that someone clever who understood no-code software could very much build like the very basic functionality on their own. I think it depends on how much you want to build, and also kind of, I guess, where your priorities and time are spent. I would say that I took a couple of coded classes at Tech. I'm not amazing. Like, I think that, with like AI tools, I very much could figure out how to build some like additional technology that I want to implement at my site. But also, I think the world is so global now, right? Like, you could easily hire outsourced talent for a price where that investment makes sense without hiring a full local dev team to make that exact software. And I think, like the combination of both those things, like you can build some really interesting tools that are not being used to like change the experience a little bit. And like, I think what we talked about is like, you guys have a lot of assistants doing like interesting marketing so that the entire space is like 100% or like almost fully leased up by the time it delivers at rates that are higher than market for a lot of these things. And to me, that's fascinating. I mean, I think like, I don't know anyone else in the space that's doing it. That's a huge advantage. I mean, also it seems like you guys have a booking system where, like people can check themselves in. You save a lot of money there. You save a lot of expenses there. I mean, stuff like that. I don't like, I think that, the industry needs a little bit of a shift for these types of, especially on the extended stay properties. I think, it's an easy way to like increase margins, right? Like, like we were saying, like cut down costs, focus on the details that matter, but then like figure out how to reduce the costs on the stuff that you could potentially use technology to actually optimize on. Like, maybe figure out a way to get margins up from like the standard industry standard of 35 to 50%, gross profit margins, NOI margins, to like maybe 60, 65%. And that's a pretty meaningful impact. I mean, that's a huge impact on your bottom line. So,
yeah. And there's a lot of areas where we can improve, but I mean, generally speaking, we just try to make it as convenient as possible for the guest. And so a lot of times somebody will send us a text message and say, I want to go to the property today. They'll get a text message back and say, yep, what time works? Show up at this time. We have an on-site manager there who will open the room for them. And they say, can I move in later today and stay here for 3 months? I said, yep. They send them a link where they can just click a button to agree to some terms and conditions, enter their payment. And then, in literally one day, they're moved in all over text message, just, after seeing the apartment. And so I think there's a lot of ways that we can automate, but when people are looking for a place to live, they don't want to have to go through the entire leasing process it can be very burdensome, right? And so I think just having a quick, and we do a quick background check on people who stay there long term, but generally speaking, the whole process is very fast. We believe it's very seamless, and for that convenience, people are paying up to 50% more than market value rents to stay there. Midterm, I'd say midterm stays are kind of our bread and butter there. And so,
I'm kind of curious, what kind of occupancy do you guys usually tend to like average on this type of stuff?
Yeah, so for our McAllen property, we have large units and we have small units.
Okay.
So the large units they're 100% occupied. I mean, we have some turnover, but like I think there's one available now out of 13. And so I mean, it's not a huge operation, but the large units are occupied all the time, and those are long-term renters, month or more. And then for the small units, our strategy is to lease as many as we can, to have people staying there long-term, as many as we can. And about 50 of those are with long-term tenants. There's long-term guests that are living in the small units. And the rest of them, we do short-term rentals. So we're on all the platforms. We're on VRBO, Airbnb, Booking.com, Expedia. And so that is kind of, I almost think of it as kind of like filler work into getting people there on a month-to-month or 3 months or 6 months. And so it keeps us, pretty occupied for our long-term units. Like I said, pretty much 100% occupancy. And then the small ones, I'd say about 50% of them are occupied with long-term. Okay. Then the other ones, I mean, there's about 8 short-term units right now. I'd say, 50, 60% occupancy on those.
That makes sense. Yeah, I feel like the short term, like the VRB or Airbnb type stuff, it makes sense that, like traditional hotel occupancy is generally like 60 to 80%, I'd say. So it makes sense based on the market. And I think the long term, midterm stays, like that's a place where you can charge a lot more than an apartment building, but also hit the same occupancies as a traditional apartment building. And like that space is super interesting, especially when you guys are optimizing with tech to cut down your hotel expenses. I mean, suddenly your cash flow or cash on cash could be way higher than a traditional hotel or even apartment investment. So
yeah, and Keshav, the really neat, I should say the really cool part about our future in the next quarter, we're partnering with some really high level executive style individuals from large management companies.
Okay.
And I'm talking Aimbridge style, not Aimbridge, because it's not like a value add. phrase, but no shade at Aimbridge. I'm sure they do good at some of their properties, but this is a couple large groups were partnering with a few of these kind of C-suite executive style individuals to come in and really revamp that hybrid model. And when I say revamp, one of them actually came from and I guess I probably shouldn't mention it, but he came from a hospitality extended stay brand that recently sold to a major brand. So he was responsible in helping franchising and management, or really just the experience input for this brand. And this other brand that I'm talking about does very good. That's why they sold to a major player in the hospitality space, because they stay above 90% occupied all the time. And there's like 30, maybe 30 to 35% OpEx. So, I mean, I was very skeptical.
What? 90% occupancy with 35% OpEx?
Yeah, I was very skeptical when I heard those numbers, very skeptical. That I did a deep dive. I even went and stayed at one of these properties. And half the side is all about living there. The other half is about staying there, but they're all occupied. I'm gonna oust myself here. It's Water Walk, but we were there, and I stayed with my wife and kids, and the experience was excellent. I mean, I wasn't the wow factor for me wasn't there, but it was very clean. It was mid upper scale. It was very, I'd say A-. Like, it was really nice. Like, I was impressed. And they literally had only one unit available. They had 200 something units, and they said, look, we got one unit available. It's a 2-bedroom. And they're very high price. So yeah, the hybrid model, to go back to what you're asking, to maintain occupancy and low OpEx, that is something that I think a lot of operators are trying to tackle and figure out.
Yeah.
I believe it's going to be perfected by our group, and working with a lot of these other just incredible individuals implementing tech and systems that fills those gaps, right? So,
and so some of them look like I guess they used to be the Gen 1 residence inns, and then they converted to an upscaled. Man, they look really nice, and I feel like they're getting ADRs and RevPAR is probably much higher than
the creator of Gen 1 Residence Inn was Jack DeBoer, who also created Waterwalk. So he built all these.
Nice.
He built Candlewood Suite, Hyatt House. He built Waterwalk. He built, I'm missing one, Wood Spring Suites, and he built Residence Inn. So
okay, so a lot of the Choice and Wyndham properties then makes sense. Wow, that's really cool. I did not know that. So you learn something new every day. So.
Yeah, we man, I don't think anybody's really cracked the code on the extended stay model with an apartment feel.
Yeah,
with the ultimate service. I don't think anybody's done that yet, and that's what we're going after.
Man, that's crazy. 90% occupancy with 35% OpEx is pretty insane. So those are numbers that make
Jacob keeps me honest, man. Jacob, if I ever say something crazy, Jacob is quick to say, yeah, actually.
So yeah, I will say actually. So I think you meant to say profit margin. So OpEx.
Did I mean to say profit margin?
Well,
I thought they were running on a 35 OpEx.
No, it's 61%. And so,
oh man,
40%.
Everybody just forget the last 2.5 minutes of what I just said.
But there is an operator, Ethan Kierkegaard, right, Keshav?
Yeah. I've heard the name. I think I've talked.
Young cat, young and hungry guy, real good guy.
So
high tech capital.
Yeah, so they are running a property called the Urlo Extended Stay. And they've sent me their P&L, and they are running at 35% OpEx.
Maybe that's what I did.
Unless they're lying about their P&L.
The one in
South Florida.
The one in Kissimmee. Yep. So they are running at 35% OpEx. They're finishing the last portion of their units. I think they have 100 more units left to renovate. And they're expecting their OpEx to stay the exact same as it is now. So they're going to be like in the 20% OpEx range. And so That's
This is a beautiful property too.
the Earl is nice. Oh yeah,
Yeah, really
the Earl
nice.
is awesome. And so that is the model where I think they're doing a great job at the Earlo. And they something interesting that they're doing is they're doing master leases to
Okay.
Airbnb rental companies. And so
Oh, that's clever.
somebody who manages an Airbnb will come in and
Yeah,
they'll reserve 50 rooms,
yeah.
do a year lease, and then they'll run the Airbnb. And so it's great for Ethan, and Steven is the name of the other owner. It's great for them because they get that lease, they got the lease in place, they're collecting money every month. They don't have to worry about the maintenance on those rooms. The
Yeah,
Airbnb owner does it. So
yeah.
so I think that operation is running really well. And that's a great model to go after.
No, it looks like a beautiful property just looking at it. I mean, it's very interesting. Well, they have like a tennis courts and everything.
They got it all. They did a really good job. They're in a position to do more of this similar acquisition and renovation model. There's another property nearby that's 600 units that they're about to attack. So
Whoa, makes sense.
it's
I would love an introduction to them. Talk
right
about
on.
materials.
Yeah, we
Absolutely.
can do that.
Yeah.
Yep, we
Yeah, they'll
can
do
introduce
materials for sure.
Yeah, Steve Michael is his name, the operator. Good guys, real good guys, and they're doing some really big stuff over there.
Oh, is it the Banyan?
That's
Banyan?
it. That's
Man,
it. Banyan.
I met Steve Outlaw at a random conference in Houston, but I talked to him for like maybe 5 minutes, and then that was it.
Yeah.
So I went to their site and I saw Steve Michael and Steve Outlaw. I thought it was funny that you had two Steves, and I don't know.
I didn't know there was two Steves.
There's two Steves, unless he just changed his name. I don't think so, but
Nice.
Yeah, and Stephen Michael, he has his own furniture business where he creates his cabinets. He creates a lot of the stuff that goes into their apartments, and so they were able to keep renovation. It was like in the $20,000.
I don't understand. Dude, it's almost hard to believe somebody when it's 350 square feet a pop in Southern Florida, 25K a door, all in reno.
Are they putting in the kitchens? Or I guess, did they already have the MEP for the extended stay here, or are they putting that in?
No, they put all of that in.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
As far as I'm aware, and this isn't gospel truth, so we may need to ask him again. But what I would tell everybody who's listening, when you see guys like Stephen Michael or Banyan Group or even Keshav, do everything you can to build that relationship so that the two of you can win in the future. There's multiple ways to partner and build a co-venture relationship down the line. Keshav does sourcing, right? So maybe what Banyan Group or Stephen Michael is picking up for lumber or for mechanicals might not be as competitive as what Keshav can source. So that's the beauty of relationship capital. You're always optimizing.
Yeah, I mean, I will also say, like, there's like, when you look at any sourcing in general, like there's three things that are really important to people, right? It's like a speed, quality, and price, right? And I think that like some of the two factors are not always as important. And I think in the hotel conversion space, like quality and price are really important. Speed, not necessarily as much when you're first getting the materials, because you have a lot of time where you're doing the actual change of use. You have a lot of time where you're getting the permits. And so you have a lot of time to prepare. And honestly, so our model works extremely well for this specific product, which helps save on costs for the operators at the end of the day. I mean, you can get much higher quality product at cheaper prices because you have the time to do it. So yeah, it's an interesting space, man. Honestly, and I like seeing how everyone else is doing it. So
yeah.
What are the areas in what are the areas, and I had to ask this question, what areas of material sourcing, whether it's material or any FF&E, any furnishings, any appliances, anything that I'm going to eventually purchase for my converted hotel to apartment, where are the biggest margins of savings? What's your experience with the biggest margins of savings?
I think it depends a lot. I think that the biggest margin of savings is actually just like disaggregating materials and labor, right? So I think a lot of people, the traditional construction model is that you normally will hire a subcontractor who will perform a specific trade, right? So let's say I hire a cabinet subcontractor, right? I hire him to build that kitchen. I don't hire him to sell me 10 cabinets, right? But let's say I hire someone to sell me 10 cabinets and someone to install the 10 cabinets. A lot of times I'm going to get meaningful savings. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, when like the subcontractors like maybe vertically integrated like we are, right? And sometimes like, maybe they're just extremely hungry and they're willing to like sell the product at no margin. But a lot of times what happens is like they buy it from a distributor, right? And then they like take additional risk on that product, right? So they'll charge you. If you're willing to take the additional headache it takes to like buy the materials and the labor separately and figure out that situation, or have a general contractor who's able to facilitate that for you, a lot of times you will save pretty big. And I think that applies to every single trade, like, like electrical, plumbing, mechanical, cabinets, countertops, flooring, appliances, windows, anything. Oh, appliances is mainly just materials, maybe not, but like pretty much anything you look at, I think you'll see huge savings there. I think in terms of margins, specifically on the products I've seen for the hotels, like I think that nothing specifically stands out that has crazy margins except for accessories, right? So accessories in general, since they're like slightly more desire based instead of like necessity based, a lot of times you'll have better margins in. So for example, mirrors, right? High quality mirrors are actually not that expensive to manufacture, but they're very expensive to buy, right? Like so like shower doors, right? You can save a meaningful amount of money getting that from overseas. Stuff like high-end tub surrounds, right? You save a lot more money buying that directly. Like quartz countertops, you do save a meaningful amount of money there. Cabinets, it depends. I'd say generally speaking, the savings are like 20 to 30%, but you're not getting like 50 to 60% off. It really depends on the product, but I would say that if you pay attention to every single line item, like there is definitely a way to cut down your budget between 5 to 10% across the board. Like if you're pretty detailed about it, but I would say that it takes a competent construction manager. It takes time, energy, and effort, which, sometimes like the deal is good enough where you don't necessarily need to pay attention to those things.
I think it's a big miss where people don't pay attention. Let me go back to the example that you shared about saving money on the faucets. You have maybe garbage Chinese internals, with a super sexy Moen looking faucet, right? I've seen these. You know
all the time.
what I'm talking about. Yeah, there's probably model numbers in your head right now that you're thinking of. Moen, what's it called? The Moen, it's a polished bronze. It's a brushed nickel Moen 3X something. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a very popular contractor package faucet, and it has even an aerator in it, so it will add air to the water to limit water. It's a low flow water thing. There is literally a Chinese exact replica.
Yeah.
And I saw this and everybody was buying it. A few builders here in Arizona were buying them after they tested a few. And I don't know if like the ones they tested were working well, but they buy like 1,000 part units of them and they get them for $4 a faucet. Like, and I'm talking, they're buying a minimum 1,000 units at a time, but they have to like stack an order that's pretty big. You're pretty much filling Connex boxes, right? You're filling up these containers. But I mean, dude, these guys might as well be a wholesale distributor. But guess what happened? You got your apartment complex calling, begging for repair, maintenance,
all the time,
all these fixes, all the time.
Yeah.
So you pay for it either way.
Plumbing fixtures and electrical fixtures you do not want to cheap out on. So
like, okay, so one thing that we want to add to our park rise model, which I think is super cheap to add. This to me, I don't know why businesses don't do this. I think this is the craziest thing. Dimming lights. Okay, LED lights. We have LED lights we can get for $5 a pop, $5 an LED, and it's a flush mount 6-inch retrofit. And there's 4-inch, there's 3-inch, there's 6-inch. So they're already dimmable. They're already dimmable, right? So add a dimmer switch.
Yeah,
That is like that to me. That is like opulence. Like I can walk in and I can go, woo, lower the lights or increase the lights. It's just nice. It's just a nice instead of just click, 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 and it's just like stark in your face. That is such an easy way to create massive value, and the expense is not terrible. I should say, don't buy retail dimmer switches. They're very expensive.
Yeah, but you can buy them
very expensive
wholesale for not that much. So
right.
I mean, I think it comes down to like a lot of times when you're buying retail specs that are a little bit more choicey, like a lot of times they're way more expensive because not as many people are buying them. So the inventory holding costs are a lot more expensive. But like if you are pretty like if you buy a lot of the same stuff wholesale, like it is actually way cheaper. And sometimes it's even cheaper than buying the other stuff retail because and it's like I'll give you a perfect example is like cabinets that are like European style that are like laminate that are like a lot of times they're more expensive when you buy them locally because they're like a lot of people don't carry them, so they have to hold a new whole like line of inventory, and the ones I do are like really high end. You can manufacture that for actually 8 to 10% cheaper than you can like standard white shaker doors. So like if you're buying them from overseas, you're actually getting a discount to like put in what people perceive as a higher end spec.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a nugget right there. I hope you guys heard that. Yeah. And especially when you're doing 100+ doors, why not?
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
you already have the volume
yeah.
to capture those savings. Why not?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's definitely like, again, when you have time, you can save on quality and price. So, yeah.
And just so everybody's listening, if you don't have the time, that's what Keshav's here for. He has a company. That's what he does. He can save you money. In fact, this whole webinar was supposed to add a few $100,000 to your pocket. And we're going to be able to share his contact info here in a bit where you can reach out to Keshav and you can get some excellent quality products at prices that you probably wouldn't be able to compete with. So
yeah, let me enter in your email right now. It's info@buildsupply.co, right?
There's also Keshav at buildsupply.co, but info is the general one. So if they want to reach me directly, they can email me at Keshav. Otherwise, I'll go to my one of my team members and they can send it to me.
Buildsupply.co. And then can we share your phone number on here, Keshav, if anybody wants to get in touch with you directly?
Yeah, for sure.
Specific projects. Okay. So we'll share the phone number on here, share the email in the chat. And yeah, man, I mean, you've been so valuable during this webinar. It's been a pleasure working with you on one of our projects, and we look forward to working with you for future projects as well.
Yeah, likewise. I always enjoy working with you guys, and I feel like you guys have an approach that's very different. And like I think that there's a lot of alpha in being unique. You can definitely generate much higher risk-adjusted returns because of it. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Keshav, is there anything else you want to share with our listeners before we adjourn?
No, honestly, excited. Thanks for having me. Enjoy talking to you guys. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Sorry, Jacob, go ahead.
Just going to say it's a good time. Want to get together and listen to Taylor Swift.
Oh man, for sure. We can go to a concert. I think her Eras tour is still going, so we can buy some tickets somewhere in.
They're not sold out yet. They should be sold out.
Somewhere in the world.
Yeah. My wife just got back from a Taylor Swift concert in Miami. She went. Oh, yeah. She went 2 days ago.
Whoa.
And, yeah, it's wild.
That could be us, Jacob. That could be us.
Yeah. Apparently, Taylor Swift makes $10 million per concert herself.
Whoa.
That's I have not verified that fact, but somebody from my church told me.
It's like $500 million on one.
That's kind of chump change, honestly, and I thought that was kind of low because
$10 million per concert.
Well, Floyd Mayweather makes $50 million a fight. Okay.
Yeah, but a fight takes like 6 months to like get to.
Yeah, she's doing 2 or 3 concerts a week.
Yeah, that's
really.
Yeah. She's
never mind. I take it back. Sorry, Taylor. I take it back.
Oh, here we go. 13.6 to 14 million per concert.
Whoa.
As much as 17 million per concert.
That's more like it. Wow.
That's more like it. She's worth every penny.
She's worth every penny. Every penny.
There's 149 concert 152 concerts in the Eras Tour. So
All right.
my
Let's do some
God.
math. Let's pretend.
that's almost $2 billion that she's personally making on that.
No, let's go low end. Let's go low end. 100 and what? Say it again.
142.
142. Let's just say she makes 7 million per
Yeah,
average.
152. Sorry.
Okay, so let's do 152.
I mean, either way, however you look at it, she's making over $1 billion.
Yeah, $1 billion. That's ridiculous.
That's insane. Wow.
That's insane.
I mean, that's what it means to have a brand. So
That's what it means.
Would I just have to wear?
Absolutely.
I just wear a leotard and I just get a blonde wig and they pay me the same. I would probably do that.
Oh, I mean,
get into a couple bad relationships, make some songs about it, and then you're good.
What is it? John Mayer? What? Who else? Zach Galifianakis? Oh.
Zach Galifianakis.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for viewing. If you're watching this live, be sure to reach out to Keshav. He is a wealth of knowledge, and he will save you money on your conversion projects. Without further ado, we will see you next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard.
Sweet.
Thanks, guys.
Welcome to your new home in McAllen, Texas.
This place used to be totally different. We took 29 motel rooms that were dated. Remember, these were built in the 50s, and we turned them around. We gutted these down to the studs. We replaced the electrical. We replaced the plumbing. We even added gas lines. And now we have a beautiful 29-unit multifamily asset. So bear with me, there's a lot that we're packaging into this one offer for the resident. In this motel to apartment conversion, we have sewer, water, trash, electric, internet, washer, dryer, dishwasher, microwave, oven, stove, all included for just one monthly fee.
Y no se preocupe, nosotros hablamos español. Go ahead and go to studiosonfourth.com, check out the floor plans that we have available, and submit your information. And just a friendly reminder, we have everything included: sewer, water, trash, electric, utilities, even fiber, high-speed internet. Submit your info and we'll get back to you. Welcome home.